2 planets. Now this is the old-fashioned one, and I know Claudia can add to it, but when you look up in the sky, there's the Neptune, and there's also Jupiter. Do you realize within each Pisces person, you can manifest bigger and more than many other people? I know enough Pisces people in this room, they're manifestors. And when you put this right index finger out and actually wear a ring on it, it accentuates that. When you manifest, you can bring other people in on it with you, also your own idea. And sometimes if you give so much, they can run off with your idea and you wonder what happened. So when we go to give, also see if there's receiving. Not because you want to say, what's in it for me, but because you want to see life needs to have exchange. There must be give and receive to have flow. Otherwise, you miss the concept of life. How many people here say, oh, I'm a giver? How many people say that? Are you also a receiver?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Then the giving gets good and the giving gets going. So when you have an intention, anyone thinking of your next intention here, I know with GSFV and Robbie and Bette King and all of you, what's an intention you have for right now? The world is pretty wild. Sometimes my intention is to say, if I have an idea, do it now, baby, because I don't know the next chance I'll get. And if I want to be in the present moment and just be spontaneous, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to seek out my kindred spirits where I feel the most joy and love at the same time. And I'm going to let go of that which is not working. And when I wear a ring on my right index finger, this is one of the rings I have today. It's one of my favorite. It's a moon and a star. So if you'd like this, I have them available. And for the right ring finger, I also have the fish, because Pisces are about fish. So when you put an idea out and you put a ring on your right index finger, that's like a reminder saying, I'm going after something that means something to me. Now let's go over to the right ring finger right next to the pinky. That's known as the most stable finger. So if you're doing something in your life and you want to appreciate what you already have, you wear a ring on the right ring finger. Do you, just like Robbie's got over there, an index finger and the right ring finger. How many people have a right ring finger on today? This is where most of the world actually was wearing rings most of the time. This is considered stable. If someone goes after a job and they wear a ring there, they're seen as stable. They could count on you. You'll show up to work the next day. But what it really means is the Apollo finger. It means I love myself. And I surround myself with people who will love me too. Not in a self-centered way, but in a healthy way. Should I stick this over here? So anyhow, at this point, when you wear rings on your right index finger and your right ring finger, that is very balancing. The crazier the world gets, and when you drive down the street, can you see how many hazards ahead we're having with the GPS? The more you have a ring on your right index finger and your right ring finger, you're in balance. And you try to keep the middle finger ring off on occasion so that this protects you. Because this means it may not always last. But you can have someone who's not always here, but they're still with you. So the middle finger ring, be careful when you choose to wear it, because sometimes you can get what you want, but you may lose it after a while too. If you just wear a pinky ring on the right hand, it means you want to take off and get a break from people, and they drive you crazy anyway. So if you see someone who's wearing that all the time, it usually means they want to get out of here. The fastest growing ring activity in the world is the right thumb. Many people, when you go into places like pharmacies, restaurants, all kinds of jobs, if you see someone who's not the boss and they have a ring on their right thumb, what it subconsciously means is, I should be running the place. I'm not making as much money as I should be. I know more than everyone else, and I'm mad. So what you'll find is there are more and more people who feel powerless and they want power. And if you wear the ring on your right thumb all the time, you can become ill over years and years. Many people have seen that. And also the skin could grow over that thumb, and they can't always get it off. So if you have to have, some healers wear rings on their right thumb too, because it gives so much. They feel in their soul, but it can render them exhausted, and they can't get their energy back. So here we have the right hand. Any thoughts about anybody you know who wears rings in certain places, or yourself? Any place that you've got going? If you wear a ring on your right index finger and you never have, new exciting things will happen like you've never known. Because when it's a new thing for you, it's really putting yourself out there. Let's go to the left hand. This is the hand of doing out to the world. I'm giving effort. The left hand is the hand of the beloved. Different cultures have different hands, but we'll start with this one. You just sit, and it should come to you with no effort. The more you have a higher frequency of love and forgiveness and letting go at the right time and learning any lesson you can, you raise your frequency, and it's your frequency that brings you your connections. It brings you your help. And I have to say lately, I'm so thankful when I need help, it shows up. And I ask for it. And I'm getting more clear about asking for it. And there are times I'm so afraid and embarrassed to say I'm not really great on the internet, but people come to help me. The more you're embarrassed and you're afraid to ask, the better it is. So with your left hand, as a Pisces, and you've been doing so much for others, pick some time, maybe like today, you sit on your hands and you let people come to you, because it's time for them to see you for you and maybe not even ask you for anything. Let's look at the left thumb. There are times when I get a job sometimes, and I work with companies when they're laying people off. It's a horrendous job as a therapist, and then they have you see them. And I have found that people that wear rings on the middle finger, sometimes they lose the job because they fight with the boss too much. And the people with the rings on their left thumb, they will keep the job because they're willing to do the job of 5 people. And then they're exhausted. But the left thumb, they can usually clean out the drawers better than you can. They're very good at keeping everything organized. They'll work for 14 hours, and then they'll complain, but they'll never let you know it. So that's the left thumb. Next time you go to the bank or a restaurant, see, a lot of these people do like serving other people, but they don't know they can get more for them. So that's that. And the left index finger is my favorite, Queen Bee. One time I went to a party, and I just have to say, I love O'Shea. I call you O'Shea. I know your name is Shira, but you know what? You're my O'Shea. And the more I hear you speak at your fashion shows, you are the queen, because you enjoy every second of it. And your languaging is wonderful, and we all want your clothes and to be like you. That's the Queen Bee. She knows she's wonderful. And I went to a Hollywood meeting one time, and all these women, they were old actresses, walking in like this with rings on their left index fingers. They were the Queen Bee. And a story I'll reiterate if some of you haven't heard it. So I was doing therapy one time for companies, and when you go to write a book, it's so interesting that parts of the book, if you're not sure what you're doing, they seem to show up. And this young man came in my office one day, and he said, I have a problem with my beehives. I said, you know, I'm not into agriculture as a professional, but tell me what your problem is. He said, I have these 2 beehives in my truck, and I have a queen bee on the beehive. She started going out to help the other bees work the avocado cross-pollination. And they don't recognize her as the queen, so they don't come back to the truck to see her. They see her as one of the other workers. She's not a queen. I said, what was she supposed to do? He said, sit. I said, look, I went to Douglas College at Rutgers University. They never told me to sit. They just told me to compete and get better than absolutely everybody and make life miserable for them and get all A's. And I thought I'd been going to the wrong classes. And what I learned from him is the queen bee, when she knows what she is and who she is, She sits and gives everyone else structure, and they feel safe around her because they know who does what. And she gives them the self-esteem they need to be who they are, and they will come home to her and not run around. And I thought, this is something for me to think about. So this is the ring, the index finger on the left hand. If you've been doing too much for everyone and you're wondering, why isn't anybody doing anything for me? Get the wildest ring that's so heavy you can't even move anyway. And you sit there with the left hand and you look at yourself and you go, I have to get my nails done. And that's the queen bee. So somehow I got really wild and crazy, and I have a lot of queen bee rings. And I found when you wear a ring you never thought you'd wear, wonderful things happen. So that's that one. The left middle finger is for a woman, got very much in the 80s. Hear me roar, I do it all. It's a great ring. However, if you do it every day, you'll end up picking the tab up for everyone else. You'll give them money and they'll never pay you back. And it's great to have your own project, but you're exhausted at the end of the day. So wear that left middle finger ring when you're thinking of intention, but give it a break now and then, because there's really more power on the index finger. Let's get to the beloved finger. It's been known to sit and leave it empty, so if someone wants to love you, they can come and give it to you. I remember when I was getting through that divorce with the wonderful man who gambled all our money away. Great guy, rough with the horses. At any rate, I found when I was going through divorce, and I didn't know anything about ring shui, I got myself 3 rings and put them there. And I did stand up, and I was married to me, myself, and I. And I wore those 3 rings for a while. But it helped me feel stable to myself, within myself. And I have to say, I think that's when I got to know God. And I would like to say I wish I didn't have to wait till I was in so much trouble. We had to do a bankruptcy. He had 34 credit cards in my name. I didn't know what they were. Gosh. I had a 7-year-old daughter. I had in-laws that told me I was cranky and naggy because all he was doing was gambling. He wasn't hitting me or anything. I should be happy. And I had parents who said, you made your bed and sleep on it. That's what I was doing when I read What to Do in Life is Driving You Crazy. And I felt so on my own, and I still had the middle finger rings on. And 6 days after I left him, I got on the Howard Stern show because I was told he would help promote my book. But you got to hear what happened. He did. And I was there with 70 million people on the air and the radio. And I was in LA area, he was in New York. And I prayed about it. I said, treat him like the guy you grew up with next door in New Jersey. And it turned out to be 35 minutes where he was PG. His wife, Allison, got on the radio, and she was wanting to leave him, which I didn't know. I was counseling them with a nagometer from 10 to 1, and we did really well. And at the end, and I'm out of my mind, I had just left my husband. I didn't know what my name was. And he said at the end, isn't it stupid I talk about sex when what we really want are good relationships? And his cohort, Robin, goes, oh boy, here we go. And Allison did leave him. He ended up going into counseling 4 years and married another person. They seem to be happy, and Allison's happy. And the book sold as What to Do in Life is Driving You Crazy, Life Being Your Wife, Why Women Nag. And I got to be known as the nag lady on the air in hundreds of radio and TV shows. And I'd get on the air with ESPN and give all kinds of input to women so that when their husband's at sports, how not to nag them. But I found nagging comes when you don't get a chance to talk about what you really want to talk about. So you pick on the little stuff that gets big. And what I learned with my husband, we could never talk about money. So now I'm learning, the lesson for me is, I was afraid to bring up what was real. So from then on, I've worked on talking about what's really real, or everything's gonna fall apart. And when I wear rings here and here and here, I feel more assertive, not so afraid. I talked to my new husband pretty darn well, and as a lot of people know now that his parents and family moved out of town because they were not easy. And I just want to thank you very much today. Let's have a good time with the rings and ourselves, because Ring Shui was a gift that came to me through all the pain of writing self-help books and being upset. But the Ring Shui stayed with me and is one of my best friends forever. I get to meet the finest people such as you. I feel really connected, and I'm very thankful to be here today. So let's just have fun. What was
What's
that?
the little finger?
Let's get down to the, oh, we have some nitty gritty to go to. The little finger, you know, thank you. It's just all in my story. I have to get off it. The little finger is Mercury. He is the son of Jupiter. Mercury could do a lot of the wild things and dirty work for Jupiter. And did you know if you're in Palermo, Italy, and you wear this, it's the horns. And what that means is, if you do what I want you to do, things will be fine. But if you don't, Satan will get you. So this is a ring really to watch what you're doing, folks, because I grew up near a lot of people in New Jersey, and with Italian and that mafia background. And when you grow up in New Jersey, everyone's Italian, and we intermarry, and we're all married, and we're all one thing. But when you wear this, it means don't mess with somebody unless you can come through, because they may not be so forgiving, and they'll come back to you. Also, the gypsies wear this a lot, and it means I'll make magic. But Mercury can play games with you and be a trickster. So if you ever do this, this means you might have a magical night with a man on a ship, but the day after you might have to throw him overboard. So only do this once in a blue moon. And the pinky ring, when you wear it just by itself, it's too much weight on something that's not strong enough. So try to only wear it once in a while on the pinky, or bring it next to something else and it will support what you have. But I don't put too much energy on the pinky. I remember one time Oprah was wearing a pinky diamond that was getting big, and someone said to her, take that off because it's not enough to carry your dreams. So that's the pinky baby. And now we're looking at the queens of the Pisces, and it's time for some games. And if you want to do any ring, because we're going to do some ring on a game, grab any big one. I've got one for you, Bet, and we'll go from here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Really, really great.